you put all your effort into raising a family or building a career and everything. And then all of a sudden you get to the end of the road and it seems like there's just a cliff. It's a time to really gather and figure out where is my value? Because you can get into the point where I have nothing to do now. I did it all, but there's some more you can do.
Hey everybody, Jeff here. Before we get started, if you're getting value from the podcast, please take a moment to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For those of you listening on podcast apps, don't forget to rate and review. Your support really helps the show reach more people, and for that, I am truly grateful. Now let's dive in.
Welcome to The Point with Jeff Spikes, the show about achieving goals, embracing growth, and finding your true path. And now, here's your host, Jeff Spikes.
Hello, and welcome to The Point. It is November. Can you believe that it is November already? You've been here for a while, and you've been watching and participating and sending notes and comments and engaging with this idea of how we powerfully move into the new year, how you can consider the history of the year and really deliver on any potential deliverable that you can between now and the end of the year, and adjust your actions based on this plan and idea of running into your new year powerfully, completely skipping past the need for any New Year's resolutions, and just powerfully living in the design of the result that you want in life. Now, if this is your first time here, imagine that you're exactly right where you're supposed to be. Sit in that confidence and know that it's never too late. It's never too early. You're always in the right place at the right time. And you have an opportunity now to consider how you're moving into the new year and how you're wrapping up the year. The idea of walking into the holidays and considering what we want to gain and how we want to influence and what type of impact we want to have on family members, loved ones, community members that we'll see and that will experience and enjoy life with through the holidays, and being really intentional about how that impact you make hits, how you are capable of leaving people in a better place than when you found them. And what are your needs walking into the holidays? So there's been a lot of coverage on that. Imagine yourself walking into the holiday and visualize yourself walking into these holidays with no concern of the bigger picture. You've worked through the possibilities and the thoughts and the ideas and the dreams and all of the things that you have put into the future in the design of what you were looking for. You've done the inventory on the year, and you're clear on what your actions are to close the year with a confidence and based on that inventory. Now you can live in that moment. The entire reason for this bigger picture anyway is so that you can let go of that in general and have the daily behaviors that you can repeat over and over and over that you know will lead to that desired result. And then you can really relax and be present and design yourself in that moment of how you approach life. So today is an amazing day for you. I am extremely happy and really overjoyed that we have a guest. Gma Howze is here, and she's an amazing coach. She is consistently training and working towards bettering herself and learning more, and how she can be a better influence and help people through challenges and help people step into opportunities. And one of the things that she's shared with me that she specializes in is working with people in transitions. And she has years of history teaching. And I don't have her full bio to read, but podcast world, you're going to have an opportunity to hear straight from her a little bit about herself and where she's coming from, and enter the conversation of what she's doing in this world to have considered the year and how she's walking into 2025 powerfully. So here we are. Gma, hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, Jeff. It's good to be here.
I man, the things, I have a good friend that says it's a 400 million% chance that all the things in the world would bring us to this moment where we're sitting and having this opportunity. So I'm so grateful and and overjoyed for the opportunity to sit with you and share and listen. What why don't you just share for a minute? Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what's brought you to this point where you are at, where we are today.
Sure, Jeff. I'd love to share. And no, this is by design that we're together today here on this episode. Um, so, speaking of transition and going into the new year um, powerfully, I have been fortunate and blessed to be um, engaged with Jeff with the Designing Strengths program, along with a lot of other training. I've just been on this quest because I have just gone through a life transition. I'm entering my third act, and um, I am in a place where I want to get it right, And so I've done as much as I can. I'm doing all that I can, um, and I'm not intimidated by the fact that it's going to take time and it's going to take effort. And and you mentioned, Jeff, earlier about designing your day, and when you design your day, at the end of the day, after the end of your design, going into 2025, you hope that your routine can reflect what it is that you want your life to be like. So I'm excited because I want to have fun. I want to be joyful. Um, and I want to help people. Because I feel like I, lived some life. I have some experience. I've got lots of training, tons of training in different areas. And I just want to share, you know. So I'm just so delighted and blessed to be sharing this moment with you. It's awesome. I feel like it's just great. I can't wait to help people.
Oh, I'm with
It's
you.
gonna
And
be great.
what's Tell me a little bit about this third act. You said I'm going into my third act. What does that mean for you?
I don't know where I heard that, but for me it means, okay, um, I went to school, I did all the career things. I got married, I did all the family things, 4 fantastic children. Um, Now I'm a grandma and, it's retirement time. But I spent some of those last few years as a homemaker, which I loved. And I want to encourage people to make a home. Yeah. Male, female, um, I don't care. Let's make good homes, right? I've have some expertise there. Um, but now, either I can, lay everything down and um just retire. I retired from the marriage. Um, And that was fine. It was a very successful marriage. My 4 kids are grown, and the grandkids, they're with their parents, most of the time. I get to go get my hugs and kisses. Definitely when I'm prioritizing, trying to be that anchor still with the family, as a grandmother, as a helpful mother. But, I wanna help people, I want to coach. I want to bring all my experiences together and um, get another shot at it. It's a great opportunity, to even be ambitious. So that's where I am with it.
I mean, I love that, thinking about the third act, and you did a great job of explaining what you've done so far, and now that it's a season to bring all of that forward into the care of others. Let's talk a little bit about how you're closing the year. What's looking in the rearview mirror for your year? Is there anything first that you're deciding to leave behind? You want to put in that rearview mirror, look at, and wave at it, and just let it go.
Tons. Um,
we need 3 podcast shows where we need.
I mean, it's tons. I mean, just about everything. It's a new opportunity. Those of us, who are transitioning, especially during this time where you put all your effort into raising a family or building a career and everything. And then all of a sudden you get to the end of the road and it seems like there's just a cliff. No, it's a time to really gather and figure out what it, where is my value? Because you can get into the point where I have nothing to do now. I did it all, but there's some more you can do. Leaving behind the roles of whatever it was, um, retirement, now what? The kids are grown. I love to chat with ladies. In fact, there's a young lady who I spoke with recently who's a very successful corporate lawyer. She had a marriage, big, beautiful house, and her kids are grown and gone. And she just couldn't stop saying, I'm in this big old house and I don't know what to do. She was lost, and very successful, accomplished lady. Um, we all find ourselves lost sometimes. And I've just loved digging in to help people figure out, you know, their value, what they can offer, and gather up all the past things that they've done and create something new.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered that,
I
but
I
all new everything.
I love that. All new everything. It puts everything in the lens of consideration, right? So even if there's something you move forward with, it's a new idea. It's a refreshed look at a part of you that you're moving forward with, right? It's because saying all new everything doesn't leave it, it maintains everything, right? It puts a lens on the consideration and the possibility of even, it takes us beyond what we can generally think of in our linear mind.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It gives you the option. I mean, some things, of course, you're going to bring.
yeah.
Um, but and it's exciting because you have to get to know that new person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
that's part
and
of the work.
moving out of the place of I don't know what to do, right? That's an unconfident. That's a unsure, questioning. That can be powerful to question, but it doesn't come with a lot of confidence in that intense of a question of I don't know what to do. I've lost the clarity of purpose or the clarity of the next step even, and it's moving. Moving into it's courageous to step from that into an action. So whether you did it this year or you've done it in the past, it's like leaving behind that indecision and beginning to just make decisions again, right? In and I think you're right. I don't so I'd say I totally would say that everyone does go through a transitions in life. And there are rest times in those transitions. And depending on what the transition is, it can also be healing, restoration. It can be a lot of things. But we're talking about a shift of, you said leaving behind roles. You're leaving behind the role is the strategy that gets attached to our identity and keeps us stuck in things. So the combination of leaving behind roles that you no longer need, that aren't a part of you, and then putting everything on the block to be new. What does that look like for you in your actions today as you step into the holidays? What's that in your way of being? What's that look like and feel like for you?
It's gotten to the point, it's gotten so there's a word I'm searching for. Um, all I really know is my next step. I'm getting comfortable with not even knowing where exactly where I'm going. I think I have pretty sure, you know, I'm doing all this work with you and my training and everything. I know my career is solid. I know I'm getting there. But there are other parts in my life that are have these goals, but I'm not there yet. So it's the next step. It's always the next step. And that's where the courageous move is. Because sometimes you don't know what's there. Um, so going into the holidays, I'm just focusing on my family, uh, focusing on taking time out to do this kind of work, no matter what else is happening, being joyful in the moments. Uh, and so with every step, I'm joyful. I'm focused on my family. I'm focused on my career. And who else? What else? Whatever else comes, um, I'll take that next step. That's what I'm doing.
It's amazing. It's so can you tell us a little bit about what training you're going? I mean, you've invested a great deal of time and resources into making sure that you have everything you need to be a dynamic coach. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, firstly, um, I was an educator for many years, and I taught children and adults. Um, and I have many interests. I had, galleries. I museum studies degree. But I got to a point where it was I was in transition. I was coming out looking pretty good, but I really needed to step it up. I needed to get out of my victim mode and go into, you know, um, charting my own course. Being in charge of me in my mind, and not that I didn't, but we'll talk more about that. So I ended up going to Sedona and getting some services there, and as a consequence, I ended up doing the soul coaching course. Now, this is after I had even kind of developed my own coaching course in 2020. My sister and we sat there, we talked every day, and we came up with our own program. So, and then I went to Sedona, just to really get myself out of a rut and into helping and not necessarily always needing the help. I finished that course, except for a few hours I still need to coach to complete. But then at the same time, I signed up for BOM, which is Be a Loving Mirror. Jeff, I think you know a lot about that too. I think didn't you
Yeah.
go through this course?
Yeah,
It's
that's where I
about
got my ICF certification, was through Family Recovery Resources and the Balm.
Mhm.
So, and
I'm completing that same process right now, and it's been wonderful. And that's where I met Jeff. You were a guest speaker at one of our courses, and I had incorporated StrengthsFinder into my program, my original program that I designed with my sister, who does mental health coaching. And I was like, I gotta talk to Jeff because I bought a subscription and I want to be able to do it right. So I got the number, and the rest is history. It's been great. It's been awesome.
It's so funny. That's right. I remember the class. It was a great class. It was the strengths class.
Yes.
And I remember I had a it's so funny how things happen. I had that I remember just remembering that. I mean, imagine it's so funny how when things are designed to come together, they just do. Because I remember being in that class teaching, and I the first person who volunteered to go through their strengths, and I started working with them was like magic. It was just, and I hadn't shifted. It was like I could see everything about what she was doing, and it just came together naturally. And everything I said almost made me look like psychic, right? It was like she was just like, "Oh my gosh, how'd you know that?" And I was just reading the results, so it wasn't really me being psychic, but I hadn't shifted from trainer mode. And this is valuable if any of you are coaches. Imagine yourself, right? Because we all do things and that aren't perfect, right? Because that's not what it's about anyway. It's about showing up and being of service. And it was one of those moments where I remember not in hindsight, I hadn't shifted well to coach mode for demonstrations, and I'd kind of stayed a trainer. And then you were like, I want you to do whatever you just did for her. I think that's probably not how you said it, but like, I want that. And I stayed in trainer mode and just said, well, this, and started like incorrectly reading your mail kind of thing. And then you were like, well, wait, that's not exactly right. Like, and then we worked through it, and I thought, man, she's gonna be mad at me. Like, not that you were, but it was, and then when you called after, it was like, I was so grateful. I'm sorry. It's just, all this just flooded back into memory. It's so,
Mhm.
when you did call, I was so excited. And then we got to talk about it, and it was, this is part of the human expression, is being authentic
Mhm.
and allowing ourselves to be perfectly imperfect and
Yes.
be and
Yes.
deliver, have a commitment to deliver value, to be someone that adds value. And if I'm not adding value, let me admit that I'm wrong and find a way to be better, right? That's the thing, right? And we do that. And and your strengths have been powerful, right? I mean, in the discussions that we've had, when we personalized them and really got down to the one-on-one statements, I mean, it's really amazing. It's fun. You're fun. It's fun to work with. You're a lot of fun to
I,
work with. But
I'm smiling because I'm like getting to know me, and I'm like, oh,
mm,
I got some pretty good skills.
yeah,
Um, so I
what
appreciate the work.
what's something that stands out to you about your skills, about what you learned walking through these first few processes with strengths? Because we're not done by any means, but what's what's caught your attention the most about the process, about you, and what's special about you?
I remember from the first time I heard you speak when you were talking about, our strengths. I think somebody had, I think it was, might have been me, the strategic as one of the higher up ones. And what stuck with me was the analogy. I don't know if you use it's like throwing your pearls to swine, to always be offering. And people aren't always in the position to accept and value. Um, and that went really hand in hand with listening. I'm really proud of myself for being a, an excellent listener, because that's a very big transition from the role that I thought I was going to be playing as, the elder feminine in the family.
It's incredible to see what happens in people when they start owning things in the first person, right? In that part. But do you remember what the very first things that came out of this, as far as the repeatable that you could use?
Oh, let me try to think. I'd have to grab my notebook.
I actually pulled it up if you want me to
Oh,
read it. You
yeah,
mind if I
read it.
read
'Cause
it?
sure, if
So,
it's if it's not embarrassing.
oh no, it's beautiful. It really, I mean, I and I remember how you lit up when when you boil it down to something you really resonate with. But this is that pearls before swine thing, right? So I am innovation was the
Mhm,
first thing. I am innovation. And then it was I am innovation, action towards salvation, positive solutions. That was coming from I know what I meant to do, but I don't know how I actually do it. And the idea is if we're not clear on intention, the pearls before swine thing was like I always thought that was a judgmental statement that would be used. Like, oh, don't throw your pearls before swine. And that makes if someone did that to me, that makes me a swine. And I didn't like that very much. So
no,
but
I didn't
it's not it's not
sleep on
about
that.
that. It's about taking something that's precious. In this what I was speaking of, what I always speak of in this realm, in that idea is if we're taking something that's precious, that's sacred, that's special about us, innately gifts, an innate gift,
Mhm,
and we just spread it around everywhere. It's the first thing we do anyone we meet. It's all that we do. We can't help but throw it away like it's not valuable. So it's not that other people are swine. It's like we're treating them like swine by just throwing it out to them with no value, right? And so it's
mhm.
like learning the value we have so we can intentionally use that to be better for others.
Yeah.
And you do that. Fell right. You just you moved right into. I remember that day moved right into this immediate ideation of thought of how you activate. And there was something you stopped doing because of it. You stopped doing a rescue mission to others, right? There was a rescue mission you do. You're like, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, it's a load off. Um, it's recognizing, it's valuing a thing that you have. A friend of mine used to say, just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's easy for everyone. And sometimes, you know, you think when you're passing it out like that, it's like common language, common knowledge, common skills. Um, but then you go back and you take another look at it. You go, okay, this is currency, in a good way, you know, and that's what we want. We want to spread the love.
Right.
So
And the person who wants what we have to offer, who wants imagine yourself, anyone here, imagine yourself standing in front of someone that wants you to add value from your perspective and your sense of greatness. What would you do? If you're and imagine yourself just being the hammer, I apologize when I say being the hammer, it means being the only tool you have, right? Using the only tool you have everywhere. If you've ever felt frustrated that why don't people listen to me more? Why don't people pay attention? Why don't people understand what I'm saying? Why don't and it's because that's the only thing we're using and if you've ever been told, "Whoa, back up," and it's something that's really beautiful about yourself, that's a sign that if you can imagine that and that's something you've done, it's just a sign that you're taking something precious and using it as a tool that it's not meant to be used as or too frequently. And you're not holding it and waiting for the time that someone's ready and valuing it and wanting to receive it. The ideations of what are coming, I'm going to share something that I'm leaving in the rearview mirror. And Gma, you can hold me accountable. I I think I've done this. We've done this together. We've done this in how we interact in the coaching relationship. We've also done this in Upwill in helping you launch your company. So and your coaching and your all the ventures of what you're trying to support. And it's
yes.
this idea that it doesn't matter how much value I have to give anyone. What matters is what they're willing to receive and what they're open to receiving to benefit them. There's so many people in the world saying, and if you're someone who's saying, I have so much value and I have so much to offer. And this is what I do. It's amazing to have confidence and know what that is, but stop and pay attention to what people want
Yeah.
and what they will receive
Mhm.
and help them pick their own path to
Yes.
receiving what you have to offer. 'Cause they'll usually tell you, right? I mean, you told me. So Gma joined Upwill. She and that was another one where I just I just started talking about the features that Upwill had, the things that could be done in Upwill. And I went later and I remember I called you back and I was like, whoa, I don't know why I went down that road. That's not even our approach. It's just the questions that were being asked and I didn't own the conversation. And it was a similar type of thing, right? So I'm leaving in the rearview mirror that idea of just throwing out the value and saying value, value, value. And what I'm moving into 2025 with is understanding you better and you, the client, and
Mhm.
you, the listener, and what's important to you and what's your path. And am I a part of it? Is this message a part of it? Is an offering we have a part of it? And what's your comfort level in bringing that on? From there,
Mm.
you can decide when you want to stretch or how you want to stretch and go a little further. But that's truthfully leaving you as your expert of your own self, right? And
Isn't that the work, to pull it out of a person,
that's the work,
because that's another thing, I always used to use that term pouring into someone. No, it's
right?
pulling it out of someone.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
almost if we focus on the creation of a safe container, the creation of freedom and safety in an environment, in a relationship where then it can fall out. It can just naturally flow.
yeah.
Is
And
is
that's what
amazing.
that's what we all we just want to learn about ourselves. Want to talk about ourselves. We want to
Yeah. Yeah.
someone to hold space,
Yeah.
because you don't want to sit there and talk about yourself and it's just you,
Right.
but and be valued for that. So
Yeah.
it's a good work. I love it.
You said something to me recently that I want to ask you about too. You talked, and it's the metaphor of being an air plant. And when you talked about feeling homeless because you're going through so much change with your physical environment and moving and all that. And when we're moving, we oftentimes feel that way. And you're traveling some and doing a lot of things. So you were talking about feeling homeless and saying, I'm at home within myself. I'm not homeless. I'm home within myself. I'm like an air plant, solid roots enriched in the air without being planted. Yeah, that was such an amazing, powerful metaphor. What's that look like for you for the future here?
I got tired of thinking about myself as not grounded, and have one place where I felt like was home because, you know, that old role changed things and I was searching. I am searching, but I'm found out I think there's a trend happening. I think I like to travel and I like to change my environment and I'm enjoying that. And so uh rather than being planted, I am in flow with the universe, roots exposed and being nurtured by my different experiences, different atmospheres, different environments. And it's a vulnerable place if you think about a plant with the roots exposed. But look at that plant growing. Maybe that extra exposure leads to a certain kind of growth, and I'm here for it.
That
So
was, yeah, that's so powerful. It's, I love the metaphor. It's, and with everything going on in the world, as many people discussing and talking about the feeling of chaos and so many moving parts and so many conversations and arguments and opposing views and all of the things going on around us, might be the safest place to be is that air plant, right? The able to be, you're more flexible, more adaptable.
good point. Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know the answers, Jeff.
Uh,
You know,
so
I don't watch the news. You know that I try not to listen to any arguments, uh, but I
you
do
and me
know that
both.
it's turbulent out there.
Yeah. So real quick, why did you pick Balm and Family Recovery Resources to get training in both for ICF and their method?
So I told you at the same time that I signed up for Sedona, I was talking. I had actually a blonde coach, Monique, and she took me on not as a person with addictive tendencies, but just because I was a mess. Okay, my marriage ended, and I was falling off the cliff. I was in midair, and she caught me. She is such a loving person. Um, and she told me about this program that she had gone. In fact, during that time, we became really good friends, and she was testing for her ICF certification, for her bomb certification. And she was, oh, oh, I'm so nervous. I have to study, and so she was doing it. And then she did it. And I was like, yay, because I was a cheerleader for her too. I tried to always stay in that mode. Um, and as time went on, and I was moving wherever I moved, I still talked to her. And she said, you might want to think about going through this. It's not just for, you know, addictions and those things. It also has to do with mental health, and that you can help people. And it just sounded so good to me. And I really needed to pull myself up. So I bought the whole thing. But instead of me starting that course, I started the Sedona course. Okay. Finished that. Fast forward to the following year, and it was time for Bomb to start again. And I said, I'm going for it. And here I am. And it's been, I mean, not that Sedona was amazing, soul coaching with meditations and the ideations and stuff. But this Bomb experience has been so helpful to help me just show up. And it's continuing to be, like right now we're working on um intentions, and digging deep into that. And it's right on time. Who are you being in this moment, you know? And so it's like, oh, well, gotta make sure about that. I gotta know my strengths. I gotta know my value. I gotta know whether I'm bringing some of my past into this moment. Am I, you know, have I can fix my traumas, uh, or at least aware of them, and know my behaviors and all of those things. It's just it's a beautiful journey. Um, I've really enjoyed it.
It's it's one of the things I love about it is it was created, the Balm method, and was really created from the activity of helping families address you know what we're now calling use disorders in their homes. And so it came from leading transformation in a home, so it and in families, and therefore it has the power of transformation within it. Someone didn't just dream it up and do it was Beverly Buncher, right, the founder. It was her path of saying, I think the most amazing top line coaching, executive coaching level energy, the ICF certified level of coaching, needs to be addressed and aimed towards families being the best resource for their loved ones that are suffering with these issues. And
Amazing.
she's proven it, right? So now it's becoming evidence based in that she's having it studied and tested and all that. So it's and it stood the test of time, but that makes it so beautiful, right? So when we help people transform and a process comes out of that, I think it's always more powerful and more useful, which is what designing strengths is, and quantum strengths and all that we're doing. But it's really, matter of fact, everything I do is that way, I guess, because I come up with things out of needing something, right? It's like, so let's solve the problem, let's work the problem, and we come up with something. But so you have you have coaching programs. You've been coaching for quite a while. You've been educating for quite a while. You know the difference between educating, consulting, and coaching, and you can do all of them and more. So but you're stepping out powerfully as a coach now with a lot of intention. You're offering people you're actually looking for some hours that you do pro bono, right? That you're just giving away to benefit somebody that's in need. And how many hours how are you managing that, or how many hours are you looking for there?
I guess I'm not. I guess I should be more. I should show up more confident.
Mm,
I just want to help everybody, Jeff.
right.
As many hours as I can. If somebody comes to me, so
Well, and you
uh,
do a lot of volunteer work already, right? So you're already volunteering with the Dress for
Dress for
Success,
Success, right?
and
It's
you're
been great.
volunteering at a museum.
And part of that, you know, giving is a traditional. It's a role. Um, it's a behavior that I'm bringing from the past.
Right.
Yes, I'm bringing value, but um, and I want to, but receiving
Right.
is a journey for me too. So I'm really hoping to find 5 steady clients going
Yep.
forward, just for this period in my life
Hmm.
that is kind of a moving, uh, a dynamic, experience.
Well, and with everything else that you have happening in life, that's the room you have, right? So
Mhm.
you have room for 5. You can take on 5 clients right now, and you're
Yes.
charging for those. You're ultimately charging for those spaces. It's how do we get a hold of you? How does someone get a hold of you to work with
Um,
you? Do you want them to? We could have them comment or DM me, and we could path them
Sounds good.
into your funnel, and into your website.
Well, yes, because
So
I'm
we have
I'm
everything moving right now. So
right.
if you're
I'm
listening right
building it.
now, yeah,
Yeah,
it's all moving into
changing it
yeah.
to something new.
So
So
and so we'll be able to get with you, but leave your information here, and or DM me. A lot of you like to DM me. So if anyone wants to work with you, and if you one of your primary uh spaces, one of your heart spaces of desired to work with, right? The client that that's ideal for you is a woman going through a transition that isn't sure where to go next, right?
Right.
So,
Specifically,
go ahead.
I love
Specifically,
the empty nest person. That's so to me, it's just so left out of the conversation.
yeah,
And of course, I'm willing to two or three of those could be a pro bono
right.
situation, Jeff.
Well, yeah, because some of that for anyone, any of you that are here or that are listening, some of that is gaining the hours needed for the certification with ICF, and some of that is paid. So this is, and all of this in your heart is benefiting the community. Putting the best of you out to be of service to others.
Mhm.
So if what I'm confident of, and I'm going to put this out there, I'll let you decide if this is true. I think with as plugged in as you are to organizations, the different women's organizations you're involved in, the Dress for Success that you volunteer in, um, you you probably couldn't get flooded with too many people to help because you could at least find a resource for someone, right?
Right. Yes. And
And
that's
you
what
are
it's all
tenacious
about.
that way, right? So anyone, but specifically for you, so if anyone that wants help, you're a great resource to at least find help, right? And not but and if anyone
Mhm.
wants to work with you directly, we can do that. So so if you're a person that is empty nesting and is in a transition and you want to step forward powerfully and you want to have a safe space to consider all that has been and all that is now and the moments you're in and how you're feeling and experiencing yourself and how you want to move forward, Gma is an amazing resource, and I'm so grateful to know you. It's having you on the team and having you in my corner, knowing this whole, I keep looking at this statement, right? I am innovation, action towards salvation, positive solution. We didn't just come up with that out of thin air. That took some work to get to. That came to do with kind of the themes of being of strategic belief, maximizer, and ideation all coming together along with your own thoughts and notes of who you are and who you've been and all that you brought to the world, right? And that's a powerful energy to have in your corner, anyone's corner. But how amazing is that directed towards empty nesters?
People going through divorce. Oh my God. The death of a dream. Um, there's so much that can be gained from a situation like that. You have to get there. You have to know it. You have to see it. So
What's something you'd say to somebody right now that's listening that is in that spot?
be the phoenix rising. And it might be difficult to think about your losses as the ashes left behind, but that's an experience that can nourish your future if you think about it. So it's time to rise. Let's go.
It is time to rise.
Mhm,
Be the phoenix. I love it.
mhm.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that's happy. That is happy. Total joy. I'm going to put a challenge out too. Every year for I don't know how many years, I've always done some type of a support group through the holidays, and this year I'm not. I'm I'm traveling for a bunch of weeks through the holidays where I'm out of country, and I'm so it hasn't worked that I've done that. But if anyone listening wants to do something like that, I would certainly be willing to join and just do a support group. Then it's not about anyone getting through the holidays that would appreciate or benefit from talking about some of these things and talking about what anything really.
This would be a great year to do that
Yeah.
support group.
So we'll see if anybody reaches out and says, "Let's do it. I'm in." Then you and I can pull it together and just figure out how to make it happen, no matter
That
where we
sounds
are.
awesome, Jeff.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I would love that.
All right. Well, that's it for today. I've got I hope I've been recording all right. I'm looking over at this thing and I
Uh-oh.
set the pitch up so high that I'm used to holding it so close, and I set it up so I could hold it farther away. I might have messed up, but we'll see. It'll be all right. It's
Everything for
for
a reason.
That's right. For those of you watching, it's been an absolute pleasure. DM or comment, and we'll be sure to get back to you and answer any of your questions. Bring on topics that we can talk about. This has been a pretty targeted sense of a topic of practicing how we start something in how we end it, right? So that there's not really a rough transition to begin with. We walk into the end of a day, and our end of day routine starts our next day. We do the same thing with the year. So these are just ways of maximizing and optimizing the flow state when we might normally find a pause that causes a hiccup, right? So this is about learning to flow naturally into new areas and always be prepared for the next best opportunity in your life. So that is the point here today. And Gma, thank you so much for being here. We'll have to do this again for sure.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of The Point with me, Jeff Spikes. Please visit jeffspikes.com for everything you would need to know to engage with me offline. And lastly, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration. This is The Point.